This weekend, Manchester United are back in Premier League action away against Bournemouth. And to be honest, I think Manchester United fans are a little bit apprehensive. Why, you might wonder? Well, because the last time we played Bournemouth, it was at Old Trafford, where we should have home advantage, we should be the better side, and we lost 3-0. And you know, when you lose 3-0 to, no disrespect, a team like Bournemouth, it does hit hard as a football fan. You really feel it, and it does leave you concerned for the future. However, this does not have to be the same football game, and we certainly do not have to see the same outcome. Manchester United are more than capable of winning this game. All we have to do initially is look at the starting 11 last time. This is going to be a completely different side this weekend. Luke Shaw is injured. He will not play in the game. Reguilon is not even at the club anymore. Sofian Amrabat is massively out of favour, and Anthony Martial will not start the match up front. So United straight away are coming into this game in a very, very different sort of position. Different players in the starting 11, which of course leads to a very different game. However, that doesn't mean there aren't lessons we can take from the last game. Because there were things which happened against Bournemouth, which we do need to consider going into this game. And the big thing for me was individual errors. Players failing to execute simple passes, execute key tactical patterns. Like Bruno Fernandes here, playing out from the back. It's just a terrible pass. And it gets cut out. And eventually Bournemouth move forward, put the cross into the box. Solanke puts the ball into the back of the net. Pretty simple, but it all comes from Bruno losing the ball. We've got another situation here. Scott McTominay has the ball on the halfway line. He plays the ball backwards. The rest of the United team quickly rushes forward past the ball, but we lose possession. And then all it takes from Bournemouth is one pass through our defence. They're in on goal. Solanke rushes through, puts the strike, far post, hits the post, comes out. United get away with one. But again, it comes from an individual error, losing possession in an unnecessary position. And it continued to happen throughout the game. Again, United had the ball in the left-back area, the ball goes forward, Bournemouth win it. One straight pass, Bournemouth are into a really good position. Solanke gets on the turn, looks to carry the ball forward, eventually works the ball out wide to the left-hand side of the pitch, and then the cross comes in towards the back post, and Billing is going to be there to head the ball into the back of the net. But again, it's because United gave up possession far too easily. And then there are more situations like this. That's the Billing header, sorry. But there's more situations like this. We've got Sofian Amrabat deep. He's going to play the ball into Harry Maguire, a pass which he just didn't need to receive. Look how many Bournemouth players are quickly closing him down. He did not need this problem. Maguire loses the ball. Johnny Evans then goes into the next duel. Johnny Evans loses the duel. And then eventually the ball breaks loose. Bournemouth go in on goal. I believe on this occasion it's overturned for handball or something like that. But again, you can see it was really individual errors in this game which cost Manchester United. Of course, it's also important to point out that Bournemouth do a lot of work to force teams into these errors. We can see Bournemouth, the team in kind of a bluey white colour here, going with a man-to-man press, forcing Luton to play the ball long, and then as Luton play the ball long, there's Bournemouth players there, man for man all over the pitch. They are pressing high, and that does force mistakes from people. United aren't the only team to be caught out by it this season. Bournemouth do also have different pressing structures as well. So again, on this occasion they are going to be man for man, which makes life really difficult. United could struggle with that, but we'll see in a different clip like this, a very different structure. More of a 4-2-3-1 pressing shape, and we can see that Bournemouth are actually one player down because there is a left back just behind me, just out of shot basically. So Bournemouth left the opposition with the numerical overload, but still felt that they had the pressing intensity to go and win the ball high. We've got it again here. We can see the 4-2-3-1 shape. This time the left winger just out of shot on the far side, but again you can see the same idea. They're not going man for man on this occasion, but they are still applying pressure high up the pitch. And when you do this on a regular basis, you force teams to turn over possession and give you the ball. So United will need to be wary of this. Something interesting to think about as well going into this game is this particular pattern. Bournemouth starting off with a front two when they press, Solanke moving towards the ball, Billing then locking on and trying to force the opposition to play one way. This is something which Ten Hag, will need to consider going into the game. Bournemouth will press well because it is what they do. However, like I've said, United don't have to become undone by this.
So before we continue into the video, a quick shout out to today's video sponsor, jerseyfifa.com, the home of all of the greatest football kits. Whether that be the new latest releases or the old classic ones like this, Jersey FIFA has something for everyone, and now you can check it out yourself using the link in the description down below. And also make sure to use code JerseyFIFA for 10% off when you order.
I guess the question from there is how should United look to approach the game so that we don't make the same mistakes which we've made, but also that other teams have made in the past? Well, for me it comes down to team selection. Bournemouth are an incredibly intense side. They press all over the pitch. They're energetic. In my opinion, United need to try and match that. Now, unfortunately, for someone like Casemiro, that does mean he needs to drop out the side so Mason Mount can come in, because Mason Mount brings energy, ball retention, ball carrying, duelling ability. He can match the energy of Bournemouth, so that's important. In defence, I'm not too sure we have too many options, realistically. Wan-Bissaka, it's not ideal at left-back. I don't think he's playing well there. But do we have anyone else? Not that I can think of, so it can't change. Maguire needs to play this game. We have no one else. Hopefully, physically, he can deal with Solanke. And Kambwala has earned himself a start and will almost definitely get it, again because of injuries. And then Dalot at right back is a no-brainer. In terms of the front line, I'm just going for what I feel is personally our best attack. You could make an argument for giving Garnacho some rest, bringing Anthony in on the right wing. But the important thing actually is more the players we've got in the midfield. Because what we saw in that last game against Bournemouth was that we had Amrabat and Scott McTominay. Not two players which thrive playing against a high press, but also, covering a lot of ground, being energetic across the pitch. Mason Mount kind of does that a lot better. So that's what United need to look to try and use in this game. We also need to use Onana in goal. Because if Bournemouth are going to press in a man-to-man fashion, it's going to do one thing. It's going to leave Onana spare. Let's say Bournemouth go man-to-man like this. They could be, they could be super brave. They could be unbelievably brave, go man-for-man in this sort of fashion, all over the pitch. It does leave Onana at times kind of standing there on the ball. So we need to use that. Onana is a very good passer of the ball. We could use the option to go long. Can Højlund try and test out these centre-backs? He's struggled with that recently, but perhaps we could use it in this game. Also, Bruno Fernandes making the run from deep, like we saw against Manchester City. This sort of run in behind. Could Onana find that? Again, it is something which we could look to use in this match. Will we do it? I'm not too sure. The other thing, though, we should look to do is have Onana be patient and at times actually become the third centre-back. Can he kind of bait these Bournemouth players into pressing him? If he takes enough time on the ball, does Solanke eventually come over? If he does, that opens up the ability to play a bounce pass around him. Go into Mason Mount, pop it back. Maguire now gets on the ball. We have the spare man. We've broken the Bournemouth press. Now we can play forward. That is an option for Erik ten Hag in this game. But I do feel that Mason Mount and Kobbie Mainoo are so important. Bournemouth, whilst being intense in midfield, aren't necessarily the most physical. Unless Billing plays, which I don't think will be the case, they have quite a small midfield. Cook, Chrissy, Kluivert are all quite small players. So United don't necessarily need the massive powerhouse midfielders to try and overload them. I would like to go for this idea of getting technicians on the pitch. We know that Mason Mount is one of our better players playing on the half turn. Not necessarily press resistant in the first phase, but in these sorts of areas, receiving the ball, he can play on the half turn. I think he's really good. He's a really good ball carrier as well. And then Kobbie Mainoo. This is a game where I want to see Kobbie Mainoo getting on the ball a lot, becoming a high volume player. None of this idea where we get Casemiro on 80 touches whilst Kobbie has 30. Enough of that. Get Kobbie Mainoo on the ball. I don't think he is a 6 in the long term, but for this game, I think I would use him in that way because of Bournemouth's high press. Get Kobbie to receive the ball in these areas and help us play it from the back. And again, I think Mason Mount is key for that as well. In terms of more sustained possession, once we have played out from the back, I would probably go for a shape which I normally recommend, and that is a 3-2 shape. Maguire as the central centre-back, of course, makes sense because he's not the quickest player in the world, so I would go for that. Wan-Bissaka forming a back three with them, and then Kambwala to the right-hand side. It makes sense in my opinion. Can Diogo Dalot then invert next to Kobbie Mainoo? Yes, please. Bournemouth at that point are most likely to be set up in a 4-4-1-1 fashion, a little bit like this. And what we can see is that at this point, United have overloads. Clear overloads in this phase of the pitch here. Bournemouth could choose to be more aggressive, push the two wingers a little bit higher. But if you look at it, United actually still have more players in these positions. So that is the sort of approach I would look to use to this game. I think the other important thing, though, is going to be about not rushing it forward too quickly. For that, I'm looking at Maguire, don't play forward too quickly. Kambwala, don't do it. Mason Mount, don't do it. Bruno Fernandes, don't do it. Because again, we saw in the first game against Bournemouth, when we give it away, we are vulnerable. We are incredibly vulnerable. So we need to be secure on the ball, which again is why I've gone for some of these players. Be secure on the ball, take our time on the ball, and then when we see the moment, then move the ball forward quickly. Because if we do that, we can overload this Bournemouth defence. Bournemouth will always defend with a back four. It's just how they do things. So, United do have the potential to have two key overloads. First of all, Dalot and Kobbie Mainoo up against Kluivert. That is a 2 versus 1, whilst our other midfielders are 2 versus 2. Bournemouth could adjust this and go more aggressive, like so, but now we are 2 versus 1 against Cook. So we have the spare man in the midfield. And the other important thing is that we do have the spare man on the last line. We can create the overload against this Bournemouth side. That is the key on how Manchester United can move the ball forward in possession through the press, then dominate and sustain possession, but then also be creative in the final third of the pitch. That's the other reason I would like Mason Mount in the side as well. Marcus Rashford has struggled a little bit with the support of just Wan-Bissaka. No offence to Wan-Bissaka, but he doesn't thrive here, does he? Flying around to join the attack. So that's why I would get Mason Mount on this side of the pitch, to try and help out with that a little bit. So I would like to see that side of the game. But there is every potential here for United to overload that last line, cause Bournemouth a lot of problems. The question marks will probably be, can United defend the transition? Because even if we do take a more cautious approach, we will inevitably lose the ball at times. It has to happen, it's a football game. How will we deal with those situations? I'm intrigued to see. Of course, the recommendation that I would make is Kobbie Mainoo and Dalot close to each other, not too high up the pitch, being that first line of defence in here, but then also the back three being nice and compact, lots of players ready to defend the transition, and hopefully Kampuala can help us hold a slightly higher line, with Wan-Bissaka doing the same on the other side. Will it happen? I'm not too sure. This is the side of the game where I'm probably most concerned coming into this match, but in my opinion, United do have the potential to win this game. I think it's very, very possible. I'm reasonably confident that we will get all 3 points, and maybe, just maybe, we'll see a better performance. Who knows? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. What sort of performance are you expecting? Who would you like to see in the starting 11? And what is your score prediction? All of that, get in the comments, but apart from that, we are finished for today. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.